Well, good morning. It is the appointed time. We'll call to order the meeting of the MAPS 3 Citizens Advisory Board for March the 27th, 2014. You have been provided copies of the minutes of the previous meeting on February the 27th. Are there additions or corrections to those minutes? Been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. That brings us to item 3 on the agenda, the revenue and expenditure report. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have in your packet the revenue and expenditure report, January 31st, 2014. I'll go over it briefly. On the revenue side, for the month, we have $9,031,569. For the fiscal year, $62,950,001, for a total revenue of $371,835,072. Now on the expenditure side, for the month, we have $2,097,795. For the fiscal year, we have $14,753,867, and for a total program of $44,656,729. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Michael Adams, do we have any questions?
I do not.
Okay. I'd love to have our financial officer tell us how you feel about this. I want to make a point that I always wonder about each time, and David explained this last time, but if you look at it, it says for the month $8,900,000, and it says that that's 4% below target. And we know that if we divide $777 million times the number of months and so forth, it's less than $8.9 million per month. But it is a moving target, David explained. Would you tell us one more time, David, so I'll make sure I understand that?
Well, right. What you see as far as the percentages of above target or below target for the month and for the fiscal year, that is adjusted yearly by the budget department, finance, and they do projections off of that year. But the 5.2 is based off of the original projections when the program began. Yeah. So we're still above projections from the original projections when the program began.
That's exactly the point I hoped you would make. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we receive the revenue and expenditure report. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, no. The report is received and approved. Item 4, our subcommittee is asking that item be stricken from today's agenda. It's on our agenda for formal action. We met this week, and this should not be taken as a negative. In fact, it's very positive so far as I'm concerned. We received the final draft conceptual design from Populous, and I'd say that generally it was really well received. We also heard a report from Kathy O'Connor from the Alliance about the impact of the new convention center on a broader area around it. And so I think from our viewpoint, the news is good. We have selected a site that will accommodate the convention center. It will also accommodate room for expansion. It will also accommodate a convention center hotel when and if there is one. It will also provide an opportunity for private investment, and the design that they have brought us is within the budget, the current budget that we have been provided. So all of those things are very positive for us, but the feeling of the subcommittee was that we should see the results of the study that's being done to see the impact of the convention center on the broader area around it, and that was a piece of information we'd like to have before we brought it forward to this group for final approval. So with that explanation and your concurrence, we're going to strike this item from today's agenda. Did you want to add anything to that, David?
No, sir, you covered it well.
All right, thank you. That item then, with your concurrence, will be stricken. That takes us to item 5. David?
Item 5 is recommend resolution approving binding term sheet for the lease and management agreement between the City of Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority, and North Oklahoma Community Mental Health Center, Incorporated, doing business as North Care for MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center Number 2 operating partner, project M3-H003A. I think Mr. Dover wants to take it.
Yes, thank you, David. The subcommittee did meet yesterday. We did not have a quorum, but I think you'll see by the handout that we received, the binding agreement is very, very similar to the binding agreement we have with Healthy Living, Inc. that was passed at our last meeting and subsequently passed by the City Council. There are just a couple of items on the binding agreement with North Care that are different. The first one has to do with on your first page, has to do with the purpose and use of the leased premises. You may recall that the location for the North Care facility will in fact be on land that belongs to the Oklahoma City Public School Trust Board, and therefore an agreement will need to be worked out with the Oklahoma City Public Schools and the city on how that the legal way that land will be utilized for a wellness center. I do know by talking to some board members on the school board as well as Dave Lopez that they are all very, very favorably impressed and supportive of this. But nonetheless, rather than purchasing the land like the city will do with the Healthy Living, Inc. facility, there will be a different kind of a relationship, and that will make this a little bit different that way. And then the second is on the second page on the subleases. There is a percent in there that the operator may sublease up to 67% of the premises. In the Healthy Living, Inc., there was not a percent. And the reason there is a percent, and Amanda can tell us a little bit more if you needed a better explanation, but has to do with the kind of uniqueness of this facility and the medical emphasis.
That's correct. As Mr. Dover has indicated, this facility is likely to have more of a medical component, and with a medical component, it'll be taking up more of an area that would traditionally be open in other facilities. So we wrote in a specific percent of the amount of the facility that they could sublease so as to ensure that the other portions are going to be open and available for anybody and everybody who's going to come through the facility. We expect that the medical services will be open and available to the users. However, when you do have medical services, there's going to be some restricted areas that just are not going to be available. So that's why this one has a percentage in it, whereas the other one did not.
So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Again, we did not have a quorum, but because this binding agreement, in the other way, is very similar to what we vetted at our last meeting, it's being brought to this body today.
Question?
Bob? Just kind of curious on the sublease concept in any of the centers, like here or Healthy Living. Is it kind of like, or would it anticipate, for example, the operator that they wanted a coffee bar or something, and they would sublease it to Starbucks, or is that what we contemplated, or is it expected that separate out from a medical facility, we really have to sublease to somebody? But otherwise, it's all going to be on the operator. I'm not sure that I got a clear picture of how we talk about sub-partners of one kind of actually sublease portions of the center to someone else, or that would all be on the operator unless there's an express reservation for someone else.
Well, in the long form, you'll find that all subleases have to go through and be reviewed, at least provided a copy to the City of Oklahoma City. So we will have the opportunity, if there's a sublease that we don't feel meets the requirements of our contract, that we can indicate to the operator that we don't agree with it. So in the Healthy Living situation, yes, they would be allowed to sublease out a coffee bar to another tenant and have them operate that. We know in the North Care facility that there will be a partner coming in that will take up a good portion of that facility. So since we know that, we went ahead and wrote in the percentage if healthy living, it becomes an issue, then we can do that in the long form. But the way that they're set up, that their plan is to set up, they don't have as many subleases that they're anticipating.
So there's no specific percentage in health and living fund, just percentage review and control that way.
Correct.
And of course, there still is the opportunity for rental, short-term rental agreements with both facilities.
Michael?
I had a couple of questions, Amanda. The 67%, we're saying that's the amount we would allow to be subleased to somebody operating a medical facility?
It would be, it could be for other reasons also. We know that they do have a strong medical component, and so we expect that a large amount will be subleased for that reason. But I do believe they have other subleases that they're considering. I believe a pet food pantry was one of them in their proposal. So we expect there will be other areas. I don't think the entire 67% will be taken by the medical facility.
So we haven't, of course, seen the design of the facility, but there is an aquatics component. And I
Right.
assume that's going to take up a large portion of the facility.
And that's how we came to the number of 67%, is that when you take the total square footage of the facility, accounting for the fact that an aquatics facility is going to take so much square footage, that a gym is going to take so much square footage, those two areas need to be open to everybody without restriction. And so those two areas, you've got so much set aside for the open public, and then taking into account that their plan, North Care's plan, includes this idea of a third for social, a third for medical, a third for fitness. We know that their medical is going to be the subleased part, that's 33%, and then figuring that they're going to have some additional subleases, whether it be all of the fitness, whether it be some of these like pet food pantries. We went ahead and increased that amount, indicating to them that we at least have to keep 1/3 of that facility open without any subleases that they're going to be solely responsible for.
Okay. And I think Michael also mentioned short-term rentals. I guess maybe you have meeting rooms or function rooms that you'd be able to rent out on a short-term purpose. How are those purposes controlled? Are they restricted for senior-related activities?
No, the classrooms, the rental of the facility is the same provisions as what was in the Healthy Living binding term sheet. So during business hours, the classrooms can be rented out per the facility rental policies on a first-come, first-served basis. After hours, other areas of the facility can be rented out. They also have in the binding term sheet for North Care the provision that they can only rent the facility up to 1 year out, that if any entity wants to use the facility for more than 2 days within a 1-month period, that they can only rent up to 80% of the facility to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to rent the facility.
And I might add that tomorrow afternoon, the selection for the architect that will work with North Care and this facility will be made tomorrow afternoon, as I recall.
And I have one other question.
Certainly, Michael.
The Oklahoma City Public Property Authority is a party to the agreement, and they have responsibilities to fund, I guess, future capital improvements or repairs or replacements. What exactly is the trust, and how is that funded?
Sure. When you are talking about contracting with the City of Oklahoma City, we have yearly budgets, and we are able to contract with the city at 1-year increments. When you include the trust is able to enter into longer-term contracts. And the trust in this situation, the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority, essentially the members are our city council. So they're the same members as city council. The trust has their own voting mechanisms that you'll see at a city council meeting. They
Adjourn to the trust.
They adjourn, yeah, they actually vote as a trust, the trust members. They have their own budget that they deal with. Now, where the money comes from, I don't know that I can answer that. Maybe David has that answer. But the money will be provided from the trust to the partner.
That's essentially the city's responsibility then to maintain the capital improvements portion of the
capital
they own the
improvements.
building,
And those
so
are
they
the
can-
large building things. That's what we do with most of our agreements when we're talking about bringing an operator to manage the facility. We are responsible for the capital improvement items, and they're responsible for the daily maintenance and costs.
Yeah, city won't be encumbered to subsidize the operations, but they are required to maintain, I guess, the facility. Not maintain it, maintain the capital portion of it.
The capital portions, right.
Thank you.
And one final thought, we all, of course, know, or probably know, that we are pretty far behind schedule in terms of the original schedule plan for building the first wellness center with an operator. Having said that, we are actually, because we went ahead and we're going to be working with two now, we're actually just a tiny bit ahead of the schedule for the second one. So the good news is we've kind of caught up, I think, in terms of the schedule for the wellness center.
Thank you, Michael. And I take it that the subcommittee, although there wasn't a quorum there, you're asking us to move forward with this today. Do you have a motion you want to make?
Yes, I would move the resolution.
Is there a second? Second. Further discussion?
I just have one more. What is the plan for breaking ground and having these two facilities up and operating?
Well, we've got to get through design, so we're probably 9 months to a year away from doing any kind of groundbreaking on that.
And then the construction another year or two after that, I guess.
The construction will take about 15 months after that.
Bob?
The selection of the architect will be the same one for both of these centers, or make an independent decision on each?
They're independent.
Gloria?
David, on yesterday, you provided to us the updated plan. Do you think it may be well to provide it to this advisory board as well, this chart?
Okay, well, I can. I was just going to provide it to each subcommittee, but
Okay, I
we
think
can.
it may be well to have the members of the advisory board to have a copy of it as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Gloria. All right, is there further discussion? We have a motion and a second that we approve the resolution for this binding term sheet. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Thank you. Item 6, David?
Item 6 is a presentation on MAPS 3 sidewalks construction status. As you may have seen, there's a lot of construction going on around town on sidewalks. We've got 3 projects under construction right now. We've got another phase of the sidewalks that's nearing completion of design, and those should be on the street real soon. So thought I'd bring you a little presentation today just to show you some of the work that's being done. I've got Brent Ward here. He's our senior project manager for this section of MAPS 3, and he's going to show you some of the work that's being done right now.
Welcome, Brent.
All right, good morning. I'm glad to be here to give us the second update that we have on our sidewalks. It's nice to see things completed. So we'll start with the first alignment that we have is in project number 1, which is in the northern half of Oklahoma City. Alignment 1 is Western Avenue. It goes from Britton Road to Hefner Road. That one's actually completed. So we just go back to a picture there showing it at 104th Terrace looking to the north on Western. We'll move on to our next one, to alignment 12. It's on May Avenue. It's also been completed. As you can tell, Hefner Road to Quail Creek Road, the same descriptions. There we're in front of Barrington Homes on May Avenue. I'll kind of move quickly through the ones that are completed to get to the ones that you haven't seen pictures of. So on alignment 16, we have on Pennsylvania from 122nd to Memorial Road, again completed. What you didn't see last time is standing at Memorial Road looking to the south in front of the shopping center there. So you see where that final part of the alignment has been completed since your last presentation. Moving on to alignment 2 on MacArthur, which is between Wilshire and Britton Road. You'll have a picture here standing at Northwest 82nd Street, and we're looking to the north. And as you progress up a little bit further, now you see us standing in front of the Hefner Middle School, which they were really excited about and helped us out on giving us an additional easement to allow the sidewalk to be further off the edge of the curb and not so close to the street and be a little safer for the students to walk. Then we'll move on to alignment number 17, which is on Meridian Avenue. It's actually under construction. So starting at 63rd Street and moving to the south under construction, We'll come to the real long part of the alignment after you have a small shopping center there on the north end. You'll see here from 60th Street looking south, several hundred feet of construction. You can see where a lot of the trees had to be trimmed in advance. And then further up, when we get there on 61st, you see where there's a retaining wall that's been constructed, and they're actually putting in the handrails. You just can't see on this picture. If you could zoom in a little closer, you'd be able to see that. Then as we move on down just to the other side, we're starting to get on the north end of the DeLisi Park. And here on the west side, again, you can see from 57th Street view looking to the south all the way to 50th, we have the sidewalks completed, but they're still coming in with the retaining walls and handrails, and then later on leveling the ground and putting in our landscaping. Moving now to the south part of Oklahoma City on project number 2, we have alignment number 3. It's on Western, goes from 104th to 96. It's completed. But I specifically picked this picture out to show a little bit of the challenges that we have in front of us. You can see there to the left, there's a little piece of a nose, as we call it, that was put in as a curb. And that had to do with the fact that people kept trying to use the sidewalk as the right-hand turn lane when they were turning into the daycare. And they were running over the curb because, of course, it's too sharp a turn to make. And as well as they were coming out the wrong way, doing the same thing. So we went ahead and put in for safety that nose curb there to separate the sidewalk from the street to make it a little safer and to make sure that those curbs that have been installed last a lot longer. Now we'll move on to alignment number 4. This is on South May. It goes from Southwest 59th to 64th, a real short section, and then from 80th to 89th. And we'll start right here on Southwest 80th, which is basically the furthest south entrance that Oklahoma City Community College has. So that's where we tie in to their existing sidewalk system. And you look south, as you move down about another block, you can just see the long stretch as it goes up the hill. And yes, we have the sidewalk, and you see the sods already put in and completed. Just looks great. Now as you move on to the northern part, on the other part of Highway I-44, you'll see looking to the north from 60th Street up to 59th, completed sidewalk and sod installed. Move on to our next one, which is alignment 6. This is on Pennsylvania from Southwest 104th to 96th Street. We're standing here at Greenbrier Place, looking to the south to 104th. Again, you'll see the sidewalk completed and the sod in place. If you guys ever get an opportunity, it's great to go out there yourselves and just get out there and walk it. It's enjoyable. You get to the north end of this alignment, which is more or less on Southwest 96th Street, and you're just looking south, and again, you can see where we tie it into the existing sidewalk there, that different darker color. Now moving on to alignment 8, which is on Pennsylvania from 59th to 74th. And it's mostly completed, about 98%. As you can tell, we need to go in and refill in some of the sides and finish the sodding, but that's standing at 71st Street, which is the north end, looking south on Pennsylvania. And then as you look on the south end, if you've ever been there, there's Walnut Square Shopping Center, and this is where we built a new driveway for them and the sidewalk that continues down to the south. Now on to alignment 9. We have, again, on Pennsylvania Avenue, but from 77th to 84th. Here we are standing on 80th in Pennsylvania, looking again to the south. You see the several driveways of all the different businesses that had to be cut out or torn out and repoured, as well as all the retaining walls in some places to meet the existing grade, and all the sodding. Moving on to South May, which is under construction. It's from 29th to 59th. They're starting basically on the south end on 59th and making their way north. Here we're standing on Southwest 54th Street on May, looking to the north. And you turn around in the other direction on Southwest 55th Street, and you see this in front of Camelot Apartments going all the way to the south. To 59th, that's all completed concrete-wise. So got to come back with the grading. And then we have been able to start construction on Project 3, our last part of Phase 1 of the sidewalks. It's on 122nd Street going from May Avenue to Pennsylvania. So you can see right here on North Park Mall, on the entrance that's just to the north of, or excuse me, just to the east of the Walgreens there. They've already poured the ramp and have the sidewalk in place, removed the boards there, the forms, and we'll come back filling in. Further up, if you can look at the top of the picture, you'll see the cones. There's actually a concrete truck up there pouring concrete. Move up a block and look back, and you see where the forms are set and the sand's been put in and compacted. And again, you see from the other end where the concrete is being poured, and they're moving rather fast on this project. So if you have any questions.
Questions for Brent? I want to thank you for the report. We're really delighted to see all the progress we're making on sidewalks. The council's made it clear to us that they want us to really make headway on this, and this report makes me feel like we're doing that. Sue, did you have any comments you wanted to make?
I think this is one of the most visible projects. I mean, everybody sees sidewalks wherever they are in town.
Yeah.
And I've heard several people comment, just, there's more new sidewalks, or we've got new sidewalks in our neighborhoods. I think this is good, that this is much more visible, hopefully usable by the citizens than some of the other projects. And I think it's helpful that they see the progress.
And as I have driven around, I did not realize how much sidewalks could add to the appearance of a neighborhood or to an area. And it has really caught my eye. So commend the staff for
Good.
that.
Anyone else? Well, Brent, thank you for that report. Very encouraging, and appreciate the good work you guys are doing. Thanks so much. That brings us to item 7, new business. David, any member, any new business items to be considered today?
We don't have anything.
All right. That brings us to item 8, the subcommittee reports. Any subcommittee have comments that they want to offer from their subcommittee today?
I'll offer a report. Just want you to be aware that the Trails and Sidewalk Committee, we are in progress on our trail that's the I-44 corridor. We haven't actually seen a trail plan yet because this is a study right now. And so the feasibility of all the different entities along the way, ODOT, even the railroad enters into it. So we're looking forward to seeing something maybe next month, or it might be the month after, but it'll be coming. And then, of course, we're really excited about sidewalks, and we will take credit for any sidewalk being poured in the city, but really MAPS 3 is not paying for every sidewalk that's being poured.
Great. Anyone else? All right, then. That brings us to the informational items under number 9. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's several informational items on the agenda today. The first one you can see on your screen is the land acquisition for half of the river trail. And you can see that we've acquired all the land except for one parcel, and that parcel should be wrapping up hopefully this next month. And when we bring this to you next month, that should be blue also. Karen, you can go to the next one. And likewise, we have the trail, the other half of the trail that extends from Council Road on up to 10th Street along the river. And that parcel P3 is all that we don't presently own now, and closing is set up for next week, so we should have all the properties by next month. Then moving on to item C in the informational items, joint use agreement and cooperative construction and maintenance agreement with Oklahoma Department of Transportation. That's the agreement so that we could put the trail through some ODOT land, specifically underneath the I-40 bridge at the river, and that has been approved by all the parties involved. Item D is to let you know that we awarded a construction contract to Rudy Construction for the Project 3 sidewalks because of the timing. and the limitations on when we have to award construction contracts. And since this one was within budget, it was actually a lot less than budget, we sent that on to council and it's been awarded. And then items E and F are land issues at the Whitewater facility, and those are pretty much the end part of the eminent domain procedure that we had down there, the resolution to pay those amounts and deposit those with the court. And then G is a resolution declaring necessity for acquiring properties for the convention center, and that is basically the authorization to go into eminent domain for the convention center land. That was approved by council a week ago, this past Tuesday.
Any questions about any of those informational items that you have? Michael?
David, what is the status? I guess we got the commissioner's award on the land at the river. We've deposited the money
For the Whitewater
for
facility?
the Whitewater facility.
Yes, the check's been deposited. We have till about April 13th, or they have till April 13th to do any contesting.
They either take the money and accept it, or they protest the take. I guess they don't protest the award.
There's a couple of options they can do. They can protest the amount, or they can protest the take.
Other questions about the informational items? All right, then, David, that brings us to your update for us under item 10.
Yes, sir. I'll just hit some high points of each of the subcommittee. For the river, the Phase 2 improvements are still under construction, but you may have noticed that the river is full again. We completed the parts that were underwater. They're still working on some ramps and some infrastructure that's outside of the river itself, and they're working on the storage building out there. So, as I said, the river's been filled, but there's still work going on. Senior wellness, we talked about a lot today. Design is now underway for Center 1, and the architect selection will be tomorrow for Center 2. So that will soon be underway as far as design. Trails and sidewalks, you saw a lot of information on that today, so still projects 1, 2, and 3 are under construction right now. Then the Phase 3 sidewalks, will be interviewing engineers in the next couple of weeks. That's the additional money that council gave us for additional sidewalks. Phase 1 trail, Project 1, the north half of that project is under construction, and the second half of that river trail will be bid next Tuesday. So we'll soon have a contractor on board for that other half of that. Convention Center, the conceptual design continues as you described, Mr. Chairman, this morning. And Fairgrounds, a lot of activity out there. The parking and utilities are still under construction. That's the future carnival area. And then design continues on the expo building with bidding to be real soon on that. Streetcar preliminary design continues. A lot of things still continue on the streetcar, and the park, the master plan has been approved and design will be underway here real shortly. So a lot of things going on.
Any questions for David?
Just one quick question. Status of the
The River Subcommittee chose to put that on hold right now until they get numbers back from the Whitewater to make sure that the budget still works for that.
Other questions for David? Well, thank you, David, for that report. That brings us to item 11, and I want to begin our comments by reminding the board that we have a rotating position of city councilmen who serve for one-year terms, and so each April the mayor appoints a new councilman to serve with us. And since this is March, and this will be Councilman White's last meeting, I wanted to take the advantage of this opportunity to say a public thank you, Pete, for your faithfulness in being a part of this committee and attending many of the subcommittees as well. Your wise counsel has been a big help to us, and we really appreciate you serving as part of the Citizens Advisory Board this year. And we would invite you to do what our first councilman that served with us did, Councilman McAtee was our first councilman to serve, and he continues to come in and pay attention to what we're doing today. So we would invite you and offer you that opportunity as well, and I'd offer you the chance to make any comments that you'd like to make.
Well, Tom, I appreciate that. Most of you know this has been a rough year for me from a health standpoint. I've missed more meetings than I ever intended to miss because of, you can tell by my voice today, I'm not. The one benefit of having the health problems I have is the only pants I can wear that I can hold up are jeans. And I love wear jeans, and so it gives me the perfect excuse to wear jeans everywhere, all the time. So there's a silver lining to the cloud for me. But I want to tell you, all you that are here today, how much I appreciate what you do. This year that I've been able to serve and go to the subcommittee meetings and watch what goes on, the contribution from the citizens is invaluable. I can't tell you how much I've learned from going and just listening to the input that comes at these meetings from people from all the varied places all of you come from, especially on the subcommittees. They're much more varied than this group is. And to listen to the comments they make and listen to the ideas they have and watch some of those things come to fruition and some not, some that's a good thing, some not so good perhaps, but it's a part of the process, the democratic process with a small d process that I think is just invaluable to the operation of a city the way that we want this city to go forward. And I so much appreciate it. I've learned so many things in this last year that I wish I'd have known 3 or 4 years ago, and I suspect all the people, all the council members that serve will come up with a similar feeling. We're finding out things that we wish we'd have already known, but that's the value of the process. And so I want to thank each of you individually for all you do for the city and what you've added to this process, because it's not possible to put a value on it. It's more valuable than that. Anyway, thank you.
Well, thank you, Pete. I'd invite any other comments from members of the board on any subject. If not, staff, David, anybody from your staff have any other things that we need to know about?
No, sir.
Well, this is the time then that we open the meeting to members, citizens of Oklahoma City who are here who might have something that they would like to address the Citizens Advisory Board about. Is there a citizen that would like to make a comment? If not, Dee, you'd like to move we adjourn, wouldn't you? All right. Does anybody like to second it? It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you for coming.